Welcome to the Church of the Battenberg. Welcome to the body of the Kirk for Wednesday's Simon. I will get to your comments in just a moment. Andrew James, first in. Hit the likes, please. Says Andrew. Yeah, pervs. I appreciate I've got my gogs on. I'm only going to wear them for a little while. Just, me reading glasses. I am of a certain age where one has to have reading glasses. As a reverend, one has to have a certain decorum for the parishioners. But I get that me ring lights, and that's not a perversion before you start, me ring lights reflect. So we'll just do a few of the comments. We have lots to talk about tonight. Lots to talk about. Loads of questions that I want to ask you. Say what's what. What? Andrew James says, while I'm sitting here for the Rev, putting on his makeup, I've been found out, and collar, I put some later stuff by Steely Span on. Oh, are we having hymns this evening? Steely Span, wherever. No, hang on. Not Wherever I Lay My Hat. Oh, what was the big hit by Steely Span? Obviously, brain not up to speed yet, but we'll get into the music stuff in a moment. I have also found a 20p coin under the pew. It's now mine. Who dropped a 20p coin? Was that Tail Block Tracy again? Stuart, evening double A. Hope you've got some Battenberg in the body of the Kirk this evening. Oh, always, Stuart. Always. We always have emergency Battenberg just in case the usual hits the fan. And then it smells nice. There's a shortage here, and a Sunday sermon is not a Sunday. Oh, it's a Sunday. What am I thinking? I said Wednesday. I do apologise. Obviously, there will be those parishioners that think, hang on, what day is it? He's just said Wednesday. I swear. Here, Ethel, did he just say Wednesday? Yeah, Bert, yeah. Sorry, Sunday, Simon. There's a Sunday sermon is not a Sunday sermon without a slice of the old Battenberg or the royal family. You never get them in slices, do you? Neil Cunningham enters the Kirk smiling after Liverpool worked it up United. Oh, I say, Neil. A bit of a celebration going on this evening in with the Scousers. L Leeds, evening, Adrian. I got Oasis tickets. Ooh, did you? I got Oasis tickets for Heaton Park. That's Leeds, obviously. 150 quid. Got them on Friday with a pre-sale code. Oh, I say. So glad I didn't have to get involved in the bloodbath yesterday. We're going to talk about that. Bloodbath is a bit of an understatement, Leeds. Where was it? Roundhay Park, I saw Madonna. And she was so far up front, I couldn't even... No. I am the irreverent reverend. I'm not going to besmirch Madonna's very good name, very talented name, but camel toe all over the screens. Stuart says, my mum is a huge Oasis fan, and my sister managed to get tickets for their Croke Park concert next year. Oh, I say. I've never seen my mum so happy. She was shouting, I've got a ticket, I don't know how many times. It's wonderful. I mean, yeah, we'll get to it. We'll get to the Gallagher brothers in a moment. Bovril says, evening all. The vicar is having the 6 bells dropped, for they are going off to the foundry for recasting. What can I say? Is it a technical term that they were using in radio and in bell ringing? But my knackers were hitting that bell and have created a bit of a schism or chasm or a hairline crack in the bell. So costs from coming from our Holy Salt Fund. The old Bovril. I'm not going to ask. I don't know what you're up to, but will that get us arrested? I mean, considering we can't even have a fag in a bloody pub garden nowadays. So we are going to get to a point where we're all going to laugh at Sir Keir Starmer, but I'll tell you about that later. Karina Jane, good evening, everyone. What a beautiful sunny day. Oh, yes, I do say. Cracking the flags, as they say in the northeast. Although at Roker Beach, it was only 17 degrees. That is the height of summer in Sunderland, to be fair. Polar Sky said, sorry, Adrian, family commitments tonight, but we'll watch on catch up. Polar Sky, you are most welcome. Family comes first, always. Family, then work. But I hope you enjoy the live once you catch up with it. Talker 69. Oh, evening, Adrian, and all you utter wrong-uns. Hang on, I've touched the button too much. Honestly, what happened there? Hang on, the moderator's on me already. Wednesday, you're either 4 days late or 3 days early. I'm never early, so I must be late. Talent. Super Ted says, evening, Adrian from sunny Redcar. 18 degrees today, I understand, Super Ted. The mighty tower of power that is Redcar Beacon. That's where I broadcast me Zetland FM radio show on a Saturday night, 5 through 8. Every Saturday, of course. Let me get back to Talker 69. There we are. Talker 69. Evening, Adrian, and all you wrong-uns. I'll say it twice because I made a mock-up. Karen Boo UK, hello AA, and everyone. I hope you're all well. Well, budge up in the pews. I've got a feeling Des Ashton's going to be in just a little while. So, make sure that Des can fit in. Napoleon Bonaparte. Oh, Napoleon Bonaparte. Good to hear from you from the United States of America, where it's all going a bit Pete Tong. I've loved the politics this week. It's like a bunch of 5-year-olds just pointing the finger and calling names at each other. But Kamala Harris, Blowjob Harris, she's, what can I say? She's done her first interview. Car crash. Wait till she meets the Donald. Second car crash. And oh, I say, miraculously, Kamala Harris wins the presidential race. How the bloody hell did that happen? Oh, I think they may have cheated. Again. Good evening, Team Battenberg. Good evening, Napoleon Bonaparte. Where are we? What time have we got? I say. Karen. Oh, no. Andrew James. Oh, right. Okay. In the field. Greetings all from in the field. Karen says, formerly known as Millie. Good evening, one and all. Good evening, Karen and Millie. You're nom de plume, or is it nom de guerre? Nom de guerre, if you can speak en français. Andy Turner, Penfold's back. Steady on, man. Steady on. Paulie Galtieri. All right, Duck. Yeah, wrongin'. Aye, Paulie. Yeah, utter wrongin'. Wobbly wheel. Oh, I say, wobbly wheel. Have you, do you need cream for that? My God, Adrian, you were spot on about Starmer. Oh, I say. Thank you very much. We're going to be even more spot on about him tonight. Honest. I want to tell you, let me just write this down because I forgot about the story. Where is it? I want to tell you a story. Yeah. I want to tell you a story a little bit later about somebody I was playing golf with a long time ago. So welcome, Paulie Galtieri, Wobbly Wheel, Kathy Harper. Good evening, all. Oh, good evening, Kathy. Paul Morton. Evening. Utter wrong, Paul. Stuart just smashed the hell out of the likes. Yes, thank you very much. We've got a fair few in the body of the Kirk this evening, so if you could hit the likes, it would be much appreciated. It does an awful lot for the Church of the Battenberg, if I may be so bold. Accordingly, what have I done now? Oh, I say. The comments have now got a box around them. I must have hit something or pressed the wrong button, or my finger's not working properly. Oh, right, okay, right, we're down there. Evening, Jules D. Evening, I've just finished in Indian. It was magic. Care to give us the name? Jules? I'm being a tart. Tarblock Tracy, all around my hat. Yeah, I will wear the green willow. Wasn't that the lyrics? Andrew James, Tucker 69 is now selling tinfoil Dundee cake, Jamaican flags, and a ticket for numerous Oasis, definitely might be, whatever Oasis, Supersonic and Sally Can Wait gigs. Brilliant. Are there really all those we'll call them tribute bands, not doppelgangs, but tribute bands. Des Ashton's in the body of the Kirk. He'll be asking for a bit of space on the pews. Evening all. Loving the ring lights, Adrian. Oh, I say, Des. Thank you, so you're very kind. Kerry Hawkins, evening all. And wiggy videos all around my Battenberg hat. I will wear the pink and yellow Battenberg. Pauline Makepeace, Battenberg was being bandied about in an old episode of Corrie last week. You don't say. Really? They're just copying us, man. They just if only maybe Coronation Street knew. Who knows what went on those cobbles? Did I tell you the story about nearly getting arrested on the actual Coronation Street? I'll tell you about that later. I never got caught, Your Honour. And I don't know what you're talking about, Your Honour. Gary Chabot all around my head. Talk 69. Yeah, Theo Bovril, Richard Austin. Oh, Richard Austin. I'm not sure if you're a newbie, Richard, but welcome all the same. Gene Psychic. Good evening, Adrian. Oh, good evening, Gene. We're going to get into it in a moment. I'm just allowing people to get their feet under the table. More parishioners coming into the body of the Kirk. Stuart says, so I corrected you without correcting you. Honestly, it's an age thing. I haven't got a clue what you're talking about, Stuart. I'm sure you'll make me much aware. Tom Harris, evening all. Brought some Merlot and scones. Help yourselves, you wrong'uns. Got to be cheese scones, Tom. Don't mind a fruit scone myself, but cheese scones. Ooh. I was in a relationship with a lovely woman. She once got down on, on leap year, women are allowed to propose to you, ask you for your hand in marriage. And this particular leap year, she got down on one knee. And for 3 months, she'd been asking me, if I propose to you, will you say yes? If I propose to you, will you say yes? If I propose to you, will you say yes? And I was like, oh, yeah, of course. Yeah, of course. We've been in a relationship, it was like 9 years or so. And so I'm sitting watching the England match. And there is a point to this story. I'm watching the England match. And I see this movement next to me, and like I'm watching the footy, and then I turn to see she's down on one knee next to me. I said, "What are you bloody doing, woman?" She says, "You know that I love you, and you're the only man for me. So will you marry me?" And I looked at her, thinking, "It's a wind up. It's got to be a wind up." So I said, "Here, man, I'm watching the footy." So I continued watching the footy, and all I could hear was like this sniffling next to me. And I was like, what's going on with you? I'm watching a footy, man. It's England. Important match. What's going on? Oh, I was being serious. Serious about what? I was serious about asking you to marry me. Were you? Yeah. You said no, so not going to happen now. I said, no, it's all right, man. If he says no, if the man says no, he's got to buy you some lace. Obviously, it's not going to be doilies for the table. It'll be... She said, don't matter. Anyway, it was on the skids, I fear. The reason why I mentioned that was because Tom Harries is saying free scones, which is my crack cocaine. And my mum, bless her, made the best cheese scones in the world. I mean, I know, boys are going to go, my mum was the best cook in the world, best chef in the world, best everything in the world, because that's what we boys do, innit? And the girls have got their dads and stuff. But, so, the same girl said to me once, I'd like to make you some cheese scones. And I was like, oh, brilliant. That's marriage material. Yeah, brilliant. So she spent all day and made these cheese scones, presented me with a cheese scone. I ate the cheese scone. And the first words out of my mouth, very nice. Not as good as my mother's, though. Honestly, I had a lot to learn. Exuberance of youth and all that, but she was crushed. Bless her. Crushed. I mean, to this day, I feel rotten about it. About the marriage proposal and about the scones. But... Oh, the hibiscus. It's just... I'm sure there are or have been times when you've dropped a little faux pas. I don't know. I don't really know how I could come back from that. What do you mean? No, I'm watching the footy. We'll talk about England managers in just a little while because Sven Göran Eriksson carked it during the week, so we'll talk about him. Next live is going to be this coming Wednesday. That's possibly what's confused me. Wednesday, the 4th of September, 2024. The next live, 8 p.m. this coming Wednesday. This coming Tuesday would be actually the second anniversary of the day the channel was created. But I think the first day that I ever uploaded a video was September 21st. So we're going to use that as the kind of the birthday rather than when we created the channel. Anybody else in the body of the Kirk that needs me to say hello? No, I think it's all the usual suspects. Keith James, welcome, Keith. Welcome to the body of the Kirk. Oasis music priced for the people. Oh, I know. I did meet the lads and interview them back in the day when I was at Rock FM. I mean, this is because in the beginning it was just a couple of fair white boys, not kind of Cockney white boys, but just a couple of Manx that came into Rock FM, and we were being told by the record company that they were going to be massive, and because we had sort of like a revolving door of superstars coming into Rock FM, and all the lads, different lads, got to interview different people. I remember the Manic Street Preachers being in reception. There were so many. I remember getting a wonderful cuddle from Danny Minogue and Kylie. I think they were vying for my affections, I think. Mind you, Danny did come in with a husband at that point, who was quite a famous actor and son of an Australian Prime Minister. But anyway, that's enough of name dropping and stuff. Let's get stuck into it. So there's a little bit of light stuff. There's a little bit of heavy stuff. We're going to laugh at Sir Keir Starmer. Is he scaring you yet? 18 months, I try to tell you. So now we're going to change the tack. Are you laughing at Keir Starmer yet? I am. Burst my incontinence pants every single day. Sometimes I double bag them, and even then I burst them. Laughing my cap off at Sir Keir Starmer. He's MP for Islington. Oh, I say, Islington, what oh? Isn't that full of all the stylists and all the really cool people in London? Yeah, full of shite. The Oasis gig has been the biggest play in the business. Nicholas, I know. I mean, it's Louise Hampson, banker. Oh, sorry, Louise, I've upset you. Napoleon Bonaparte was Caesar ever at Rock FM. Which Caesar? Not the geezer. No, he wasn't there. Rock FM was in Preston, man. Rock FM was just I literally can't lift the veil. It was like Sodom and Gomorrah, Rock FM. It was just fabulous. I'm not going to speak out of school because I've got a lot of friends that used to work there with me. But what a time! So all the big stars. I remember the one I was most nervous of was Right Said Fred. Interviewed them. The one that was the most difficult, but was actually beautiful, was Paddy McAloon from Prefab Sprout. I mean, I'm going back some years here. Maybe my knowledge is a little specialist, but he came in and he was so shy, didn't really want to say anything. And at that point, it's like, what do you ask Paddy McAloon, who's like an amazing songsmith, an amazing songwriter? What do you ask him? And it was so, I had to kind of tease him out. He came in, didn't want to say anything, didn't want to do the interview, but we had like 15 minutes to just, get a little bit so we could get it on air. And to his credit, he got over his shyness and was a fabulous interviewee. Fabulous. There's been, oh God, which big names? Dave Stewart from the Eurythmics, interviewed him rather than Annie. We didn't get off on the best foot because I said to him, "Here, Dave, me and you from Sunderland, man." And he went, "Oh, shitty place." I was like, oh wait, man, Dave, that's the place of our birth. What are you talking about? Oh wait, man, how are the lads? And he was like, no, didn't have it. Anyway, we did a good interview, but just at the beginning when you're trying to ingratiate a rock star, because he knows everybody, play with everybody, how on earth do you... And I thought, I've screwed this. I've absolutely knocked this sideways. He's never going to speak to me. But good man, professional, gave me an interview, gave me some great quotes. One of the worst interviews I ever did. Ever. And I had to stop the interview and give them a lecture. Was the two girls from Human League. Now, I know obviously these are kind of 80s, late 80s, early 90s. We had all the Manchester bands, but the two girls from Human League. I had to stop the interview. It's like, here! What are you doing? I'm trying to help you. I'm trying to promote you. And you're not giving me anything? You're just kind of sneering? No, don't work. And the record company guy was like, Adrian, well, they've had a long journey. And I was like, right, okay, then I'll let them off. Interview was still shite. Oasis tickets went too quick. Pauline, sorry, that's from Karina Jane. Pauline Makepeace, Jackie agreed, but it is so expensive. Keith James, Starmer and King Jong-un, Kim Rongan, separated at birth. Des Ashton, do you love me, baby? No, don't you want me, baby? But I was saying that because Rock FM had so many of the big names from the early 90s. I was there 91 to 92, then 93 to 96. So we had everybody through the doors, literally every single artist you could imagine that released a song between 91 and 96 while I was there. Just wonderful. But the Oasis boys, look, I'll tell you this, absolutely, categorically, they were really shy. And I know you've got Noel cracking all the wise gags and all the bits and pieces. If you're on X, go and look at something I posted the other day, the best Oasis story in the world ever. You're going to have to go over to X and follow me. You're wrong, and I'll follow you back, of course. Andy Turner, Andy Cox. Hang on. Who's Andy Cox? Am I being disrespectful? Andrew James, Human League have always been to be known to be a bit hoity-toity. Oh, you can say that again. What? Sorry, did I say that out loud? You can say that again. Or fur coat, no niggers. But Phil Oakey. I mean, I love early Human League. I love Being Boiled. Love the early stuff, not the Gary Glitter covers. You can't say that anymore. But Being Boiled, what a great tune. And I remember going into record stores and seeing the covers of their stuff in the late 70s, early 80s. And loved them. Nicholas, I hear the best interviewer is Rick Astley. Have you met him? Yes, but somebody else interviewed him, not me. In fact, one of my best friends was really good mates with him and Pete Waterman. And he came in, I'm sure, because he just lived down the road. And he came into Rock FM. I didn't interview him, but super nice guy. Proper. Bad Wolf Project. I'm not sure what you're up to. You're wrong. Leeds, talking of interviews, do you remember Bee Gees walking off Clive Anderson? Oh, yes, I do. Because weren't they called the Tossers or something before they became the Bee Gees? Or the Tossers? I'm not sure, but it was definitely he was having a play on words, and he was interviewing them, and it was Big Barry. Right, lads, right, come with me. We're off. Oh, I say, what? Have I said something wrong? Yeah, Foxtrot Oscar, mate. We're not being interviewed. Oh well, lads. I mean, that was legendary TV back in the day. Stuart, who have you been the most nervous to interview? I was quite nervous interviewing Dustin Hoffman, Warren Beatty. I did a premiere of Dick Tracy, it was out in America, and all the American networks were absolutely brutal, trying to get interviews and stuff. And do you know, I was doing like the red carpet thing, the press corps, the red carpet, and Disney had flown us out there, like a crew, me, and all the Americans, Dustin. So I thought, how can I get him to respond to me? Oh, Mr. Hoffman, he'd been doing some theatre in London for like a previous couple of months. So an English accent, an English cut glass accent, cut right through all the Americans and all their, their drawl. And I just said, hey, Mr. Hoffman, straight across. Oh, hello, you from England? Oh, yes. Can I call you Dustin? Oh, sure, yes. Got some lovely quotes from him, sent them across to Sky, and Sky broadcast them. So I would say that would be my favourite. Although there was, I've told you the story about being at EMI Records in Manchester Square in London and doing an interview. But I was there to interview a woman called Phyllis Hyman, who had the most insanely beautiful voice, soul singer, just beautiful, and she'd done Playboy and everything. So they gave me an office, and they said, Ms. Hyman will be along in just a little while. So I'm sitting there thinking, this is one of the most beautiful women in the world. She's done Playboy and everything. I got a kit off and everything. And so I was kind of winding myself up. I was just getting more and more nervous. And also, I was thinking about the banister, the Beatles shot for their albums, where they're looking down. But she walked into the room, and it was proper, like a dream. It was like a vision. She just glided into this office. Oh, hello, she says. Talk like that. Oh, hello, Phyllis. My name's Adrian. Yeah. Shall we? And I was talking about the interview. She had that twinkle in her eye and went, do we have time? I was like, oh, Phyllis, stop it. But that, she has to be. I think it was because she was beautiful and talented and had done Playboy. Obviously, I'd done my research. So that was possibly the most nerve-wracking interview because I couldn't concentrate, man. I couldn't. Got Phyllis Hyman in front of me. She's Spotify her or go look at the streaming. You Know How to Love Me, Bet You By Golly Wow, just loads and loads of great ballads and songs. But it was that banister, and after the interview, whilst there was other lads there, that everybody had been brought down from the soul shows in the UK. This would have been sort of 87, 88, and I went to the guy from the record company. I said, here. He said, oh, I didn't even have to tell him. He went, oh, all right, come with me. So we walked through and we got to, there was like loads of secretaries in this office, typing away. And I was like, where are you taking me? He went, come here. And it was like double doors, like French doors. And he just opened them. And again, it was like, on The Simpsons when the clouds part and it's like blue sky and it's beautiful and everything's wonderful. Like that. The double doors just opened, and there right in front of me was the Beatles banister. Oh, stroked it, kissed it. I mean, that was completely unnecessary. I didn't care. But I mean, I'm sure the secretaries knew because like any million times a day, people would be like, can I see the banister? So that would be the most nerve-wracking interview ever for a myriad of reasons. Well, thank you for asking. Tom, you're wrong. And Tom Harney said, but did she bring cheese scones? If I told her to, I mean, the way she was flirting with me, she would have done anything for me. Little did I know, she liked the girls, not the boys. Andy Turner, what is the biggest on-air mistake you did and you thought, taxi? Right, I'm only ever going to tell you this story once. I'll never tell it again because for a lot of reasons. I'll never get my MBE or my knighthood or anything because of this. So, hang on. Did somebody talk about Jimmy Savile there? So, if you're sitting comfortably, imagine I'm at the beginning of my radio career, sort of. I'm a gopher. I get records and produce shows for people and do whatever they want, answer phones. You're kind of in the radio station just to soak it all up like a sponge, just to work out what's going on and how it works. And for about 6 weeks beforehand, on Christmas Day, the Queen always broadcast her Christmas Day speech on the radio in the morning, and then everyone saw it on TV in the afternoon. So for 6 weeks beforehand, the station's managing director, editor, a wonderful guy called Brian Lister, he said to me, Adrian, are you aware what you need to do? Yes, Brian. No problem, Brian. Yeah, brilliant. So what we had to do was, in radio back in the 80s, we used to use 1/4-inch tape for recordings, and it was better than kind of CD. It's what the Beatles used. They used 1/4-inch. I mean, look at some of the sounds they got out of their studio. But 1/4-inch. So the deal was that on the morning it had to start dead on 9:30. Absolutely dead on 9:30. Every single commercial radio station and possibly the BBC played the Queen's Christmas Day speech at 9:30, and there was a countdown. There were pips to 9:30, and all you had to do was just press play. Well, you had to spool them up. They were like cassettes without the plastic. So I put the two spools on. This is Christmas Day, but there was always going to be an accident, always, because I was working in nightclubs at the time when I was doing all my radio stuff. And I was, so Christmas and New Year, you get your B team, you get your people just to keep the needles waggling on the radio, just to keep the output going. And most of your A team will get a rest and some R&R for a couple of days, Christmas and New Year. Normally, the lads that and women that have kids would get Christmas off, and there was people like me in the background that were just keen to get into radio, so would do anything to get into radio. And somehow Brian said to me, "You're going to play out the Queen's speech on Christmas Day morning." So I was like, right, okay, Brian. Didn't really get the gravitas of what I was being asked to do. So I was, the night before, I'd been in the nightclub at 6 p.m. doing a private party, and then the party finished. 10 o'clock, the nightclub opened, allowed the public in, and then I was working till 2 o'clock in the morning. And then I drove down to I was working in the nightclub, the Chelsea Cat in South Shields. Then I drove down to Teesside for Radio Tees to play out, to do the early breakfast show. So the early breakfast show, I think I started at 7, so I only had a couple of hours sleep. And so I'm sitting there and I'm looking at the clock thinking, oh, Jesus, I'm a bit tired. I'm absolutely wiped. I'm out on my feet. What can I do? Oh, I play this. There was a company called the Disco Mix Club, DMC for short, and they did all these remixes. And I don't know why or how, but I had some of them with me in my record box, like vinyl record box. So I just thought, oh, it's like 9:25. I'll stick one of these on. I'll stick an 8-minute disco mix thing on, and I'll go make myself a cup of coffee, see if I can wake up. I'm finishing at 10. I'll be away. It's brilliant. I've got a half-hour drive home. Wonderful. My day's done. I can go straight to bed, and then I'm back up again. Christmas Day. No, I had that Christmas Day off. But so I played this Disco Mix Club mix. 9:32. Every radio studio had what we call an XD, X directory, that only the managers had access to. So when the XD went, you knew you were in trouble, or something had happened, or they needed to tell you. 9:32. Wonderful guy called Peter Craig rings me and goes, Adrian, where's the Queen's speech? I said, what do you mean? He said, I thought you were playing the Queen's speech out at 9:30. And it was that cold sweat moment where you realise, oh dear, I've proper gubbed up. I've proper dropped one here. So he said, don't worry about it. Just play it out. Play it out now. All right, I'll do it now. So I started by this time it's 9:34. Every other radio station in the country, it started at 9:30. I've still got a DMC disco mix thing being played out or playing out on Radio Tees as it was. Next one, bing, 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 bing. XD goes again. This time it's Brian Lister. Adrian? Where's the Queen's speech? This is Christmas Day, 9:30 in the morning. Everybody's awake. Everybody in the radio station's awake. Everybody knew there had been 20 million memos in that day. We didn't have emails. There was memos going around saying, do this, do this, do this, running order, check, 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 check. And Brian said, enjoy Christmas, Adrian. See me in my office day after Boxing Day. So for that half hour, I just had the worst sinking feeling in the pit of my stomach. I'd absolutely dropped a humongous spherical, and the bosses weren't very happy. I mean, it was just that I'd been working too hard. I'd been burning the candles at both ends. No recreational gear. All I had was the strongest coffee available. And I just didn't have a good Christmas, didn't have a good Boxing Day, went in to see the boss thinking, I've not even made it as a presenter on commercial radio yet. I'm just a gopher playing stuff out. And he pulls me in and he goes, right, Adrian, sit down. He said, so explain to me what happened. So I explained to him what happened. And he said, you do realise this is a sacking offence, don't you? And I said, well, I would hope that my honesty would see a little lenience, Brian. And he said, Leeds says, how many times have you been sacked, Adrian? Too many to remember, Leeds. So I was horrible to manage. Horrible. And he said, look, it was Christmas. I get it. We've not heard anything from the higher-ups. Like, oh, hello, Brian. It's Liz. What happened to my speech? No, none of that. Nobody said anything. I mean, this is, God blimey, 40-odd years ago. There wasn't a fuss made, no press, no nothing, because I think everybody was probably sleeping off the beer from the night before. And Brian said, by the skin of your teeth, Adrian, we had sent out dozens and dozens and dozens of memos with running orders, and you knew exactly what you had to do and how you had to do it. And I said, I know, Brian, look, I can only apologise. I was very tired. I want to get into commercial radio. I want to be a presenter in commercial radio. But, I have to make sure that I put food on the table, and I'm earning me Benjamins to pay for the petrol to come down here. And he said, all right, then, don't worry. Let's just forget about it. But next time, if you do play the Queen's speech out, play it out at bloody 9:30. So I walked out of there. I mean, still sick to the pit of my stomach. But Brian was lovely. He got it. He absolutely got it. And I just made a very fundamental mistake of not reading the memos and not playing the Queen's speech out at 9:30. So around the industry, I mean, because radio is not that big. There's not that many people in radio. At the time, there was maybe 40 or 50 presenters, if that, around commercial radio. And they were all like, oh, did you forget the Queen's speech, Adrian? Literally, everybody laughed. How did you get away with that? How did you keep your job? I said, oh, I don't know. But it was one of those schoolboy errors. Hang on a second. Let's have a look at these. Evening, Adrian, and all bunch up. Yeah, wrong ones. Bunch up in the pews. Thank you, PT Ham, the Bad Wolf Project. Here's one for you. Son Effects. Not to be an anorak, but Son Effects. Oh, they literally were in every radio studio. Son Effects carts, because in the early days, doing a 3-hour radio show. Thankfully, I didn't have to do 4 hours, but 3 hours in the beginning of my career. It was like running a marathon. You literally would put a vinyl 7-inch on, play it, queuing it up. And at the beginning of the 7-inch vinyls, there was something called queue burn, where because so many people were queuing it up on the record deck, it would kind of have this, it was termed burn, but it was just like a bit crackly at the very beginning. And and you would start the song off, and then you were looking at advert running orders, you were looking at musical running orders if you had to look at any scripts. So literally, you had about 20 seconds of any song to work out what you were going to say and in what sequence and how. So it was pressure, and it was hard work. And even though it may have come across as just like zini, all those words that the press used to call us, but it was hard work, and you'd come off air after 3 hours absolutely wiped. But Son Effects for all the adverts, wonderful. Stuart, oh, that's never good. Lead says, how many times have you been sacked, Adrian? Loads. But you don't really, I don't think that you, I've left some radio stations of my own accord. I got a bit naughty in some of them, where I held some of the staff to account. But it was, back in the 80s, it was so, I mean, radio in the United Kingdom only started like 75, and it was wonderful. Absolutely. Devil May Care. Wonderful radio. We used to, some of the stuff we used to get up to, which I'm never repeating on here, by the way. I mean, I've told you some of the other stories. Pennine Counties, I was an ILR newsman. So many horrors, so many great stories, though. Des Ashton, did you not have the right hair for telly? I did, Des. There's another story. Hang on, I'll do the Chihuahua story. And well, in my younger years, it was just unruly and thick. Kerry Hawkins, I loved Ed Doolan, Radio WM. He was a legend. Did you ever meet him, Adrian? Yes, I did. I did some shows on BRMB. For a while, I also ran Buzz FM in Birmingham, so kind of the same area. Nicholas always had the stations over a barrel, loved by listeners. He invented Chris Evans. Who did? Who invented Chris Evans? Chris Evans invented Chris Evans. Chris Evans was a live wire in Manchester, definitely. Carts were brilliant at throwing at your producer. Commercial radio, no producers, but Son Effects, wonderful. I mean, I still, somewhere in a box, I've still got the carts, but I haven't got the Son Effects players to play the carts. Now all of the jingles and stuff that I ever had have all been transferred, have been digitized. The Bad Wolf Project, do nuts, fills, shotguns, or acapellas. Sung in, those in the game will get this reference. I'm going to say them again for anybody that did any radio. Nuts, fills, shotguns, or acapellas. Yeah, we've all used them. And you know, there are some jingles from Radio Tees. Radio Tees, The Sound of Home. I mean, I'm a grown man. I'm a grown-ass man, but it still makes me cry. Don't know why. It's just the strings, the voices, the whole. It's and my good friend John F. I won't give his full name. He sends it through every now and again just to wind me up. Amalia Grassi, where have all the good times gone? I know, Amalia. It's like this Starmer the Harmer. He's taken away all the joy out of life. I mean, having a ciggy in a beer garden, in a pub, and they're now going to go, no, you can stop that. Oh, here, foxtrot Oscar. Not you, Amalia. I'm talking about Sir Keir Starmer the Harmer, or 2-tier Keir. Have you ever met Chris Tarrant? Yes, once, fleetingly, long time ago. I did some work for Capital, did some work for the Capital Group as they were taking over BRMB. Richard, the PD of Capital, met him in, they were kind of, the Capital Group were buying out some radio stations. They were trying to go national rather than regional. So he came into Century 106 in the East Midlands, and everybody was getting a bit, Steve England and Alpha Sound, Pennine Counties, brilliant. And he, I can't remember his second name. I can see him. Scots guy. He came into Century 106. Everybody was always a bit nervous around them because, you know, buying a radio station where you're going to keep your show. I didn't care. Didn't give a flying. So I walked in one day just before this big, massive meeting, and Richard, what's his face, says, the infamous Adrian Allen held out his hand, shook my hand, and I said, the even more infamous, and he laughed. He laughed because, at that level, they get that people are nervous, but they love a character. They do love a character, and it's a lot of radio station managers are weak. But I mean, it's very different nowadays. Very, very different in commercial radio. But back then, it was just magnificent. It was wonderful. Some of the stuff we used to get away with. That was Century 106, where I did both the lunchtime phone in and the late night, and it was me, according to the then managing director, that kept the station afloat and alive. So he was, I think he's still around. Oh, it was Tarrant said he used to work for Capital Radio. That's why I asked, had you met him? Yeah, but there was always good to see Retro on his bikes is in the body of the Kirk. I'm still at work in Lowestoft until Thursday. Retro, be safe, be well, and hopefully we can catch up soon. Ahoy, mateys, sailors, sailor boy, ship ahoy. Oh, what was the song? Sailor boy, ship ahoy, old song. Adrian, did you ever meet BRMB's Les Ross? Yes, because Les did the breakfast show at Radio T's at launch and then left and went down to BRMB. I know quite a few of the BRMB presenters. Because, as I say, the radio industry is so small, or was, that because everybody wants to be in radio now, and radio, as we knew it, doesn't really exist anymore. But Karina Jane says the 90s were awesome. Gary Hawkins, Les Ross. I know. Talented man. Because sometimes it's not like being a comedian where you have an audience in front of you and you can measure and gauge what you're doing and how you're saying it, because you're interacting with that audience. You're sitting in a room on your Todd with a microphone, expected to know how to connect with the audience, maybe tens or hundreds of thousands or even millions if you go national. Super Ted, any news on Mark Page? Shame he went tits up for him. Well, he's still in jail. He's going to do 19 years. Filth, Pagey, filth. I have no time for what that man did, and I kept abreast of the court case. Ooh, I didn't think he was like that. But again, you kind of meet and take people on face value. But Mark Page, Google it. If some of the reportage from the court case is online. Horrible man. David Bevan, Adrian, did you ever meet? Oh, yeah, done that one. Thank you, David. Paulie Makepeace. So right, Louise, 80s the best. Radio in the 80s, it was just finding its feet. I mean, look, I started playing vinyl on the radio in the 80s, and then we transformed everything by playing CDs, and it was really nervous when you had to put a CD into a case. It had like a flip up. You put the CD in, you flipped it back down, then you put it into a cart, and then you just turned it, and you could kind of muck about with the intro and listen to it on pre-fade. Because sometimes if I was going to play you a song and I thought, all right, I'll read this particular script. So it's called a voiceover. And the beginning of the song might be 10 seconds, 20 seconds, 30 seconds, 40 seconds, 60 seconds sometimes. And you would think, right, I'll have a rehearsal. So I'll put it on pre-fade and I'll listen to the intro. It's 58 seconds. Let's see if this goes across the top. And hang on a second. I'm just going to take this comment. Bad Wolf Project says, did anyone else just see the shadow cross behind the Reverend? It moves right to left, then up the wall. No, I didn't. I was telling you a story. So the 80s radio, we'd gone from vinyl to CDs. And if I had a script, I'd put it on pre-fade and kind of rehearse. And if you had sort of a 50-odd second or 60-second intro, you could only have one go and then work out your pacing and work everything out. And inevitably, in radio, you're operating via your ears and your hearing. you can't muck about with it. You just have to feel your place through the intro of the song. And crashing a vocal was an absolute no in commercial radio. No. Call yourself a radio presenter? No, Foxtrot Oscar, you're shite. And sometimes if you did crash a vocal, the other lads that might have been in the building would absolutely give you pelters. Oh, blimey, Adrian, could have driven a bus through that. Are we back to ghosts again? So a little bit lifting the veil of commercial radio back in the 80s and the 90s, when Oasis were but lads, cheeky manx who came into radio stations, shy as, but fame, money, adulation, Patsy Kensit, all that kind of stuff. It does things to a man. Andrew James with the Bad Wolf Project. What you been smoking? Retro says it's nice, Nicholas. What's Nicholas said now? Where are we? Did anyone else see this? Oh, yeah, we've done that one. Met Les Ross in the early 90s. He was presenting my school with a new minibus. He was a nice person. Oh, he's wonderful, Les. He's wonderful. Stuart, if I wanted to listen to music, I'd just ask Alexa. I'm not doing that again. Jackie Glasgow. I was working in a factory in the 70s doing golden syrup tins. And we had to wear earphones with the radio on. Got driven mad by Tony Blackburn playing the same depressing song over and over. Is that when Tessa left him? Because I remember I'm actually a motor vehicle technician. I'm a motor mechanic or motor vehicle engineer, however you want to describe it. Served my apprenticeship, and I used to listen to Radio 1 a bit like Jackie. And I mean, Tony Blackburn is one of the nicest men in radio ever. We'll talk about the investigation into the BBC and Savile and his activities at the BBC and the output from that, even though Jimmy Savile had raped an 8-year-old girl on BBC property. I'll say that again to you. Jimmy Savile raped an 8-year-old girl on BBC property. And do you know what the output was? Tony Blackburn kissed a 16-year-old girl in the 60s once. And that was the moral indignation. That was the outrage. Savile raped an 8-year-old girl on BBC property and nobody did anything about it? Correct. Stuart says, Adrian, your reaction to the mucky questions I got you to ask Alexa was even funnier than what she says. Yeah, well, maybe I should put that out as a short. The Bad Wolf Project, Andrew James. It could be a shadow, but what looks like the Bodyguard CD on the wall goes dark, then light again. Perhaps it's the Rev's illuminated ring shining. Less of my ring shining, but I will have a look at that back. Oh, my word. Maybe it's my mother coming back to tell me off. You should have played the bloody Queen's speech at 9:30, you wrong'un. Anyway, shall we get back to Oasis? We kind of got into all of that via Oasis and the radio stories. But a couple of people in the comments have got Oasis tickets. Wonderful. But what they don't tell you, I don't know whether they're still with Oasis with Creation. Normally, record companies keep some tickets back for varying VIPs, varying radio people. But I think this might be slightly different. I'm hearing anywhere between 100 and 400 million being given to the band to perform all these gigs. I know that 7 million people in the Sun, 14 million people in the Mirror were trying to get tickets. And we're hanging on and hanging on and hanging on. There was a meme going the rounds saying that Oasis had split up in the time that the people had been hanging on trying to get tickets for the gigs. The thing that really sickened me, I don't know about you, I don't know if you have tickets, whether you're going to have to travel. I mean, people are talking about Croke Park, Manchester maybe, and Wembley. But these hotels that are raising prices, I think they should be named and shamed. I mean, some of them where you would pay 100 quid, maybe 200 quid a night, and now you're having to pay £1,000 a night just because they've raised their prices. Airbnb, cheeky feckers. I mean, it's not Airbnb as such. It's the people advertising their rooms and homes on Airbnb. They're cancelling bookings for the dates of the Oasis gigs to make more money from new bookings. I mean, that's just, I don't know whether the band can do anything and put a price cap on the tickets. If the tickets are above a certain price that you've paid for them, then you can't use them. But I do hope somehow this can be looked at, because Ticketmaster, I wouldn't use them. I mean, I hate paying the exorbitant prices to go and see somebody live, so invariably I don't pay. I used to get all the stuff for free. Most of the radio stations, we called it ligging and blagging. You'd get tickets from record companies because they want you to play their artists on the radio, and it might be that, I don't know, say Madonna plays Roundhay Park, and you get the radio station get 20 tickets, and the boss goes, right, you can have two, you can have two, you can have two. But the deal was not necessarily to play Madonna's stuff, but play that record company's product. A bit like, I'll tell you, there was a very legendary in radio and clubs, a guy called Fred Dove, who worked for, and I do hope he's had a long life, and because he was a character. He worked for Warner Brothers Records, and he sent me through early Prince stuff, like rarer than Rocky or shite, rare Prince stuff, and Anita Baker stuff. And I used to, every week for my soul show on a Saturday night, I used to get wadges of albums, loads and loads and loads of albums. He'd be on the phone Monday morning, "Oi, Rogan, so how much did you play? Hope you played all of them." I was like, "Fred, behave, man. I've got to play loads of different products. I've got to, yeah, I played Prince, and I played Anita Baker, and I played this and that and the other." "Well, not good enough, not good enough. I'm not going to send you product if you're not going to play it." And I was like, "Fred, do me a favour. We're helping each other. If you're going to kick off, no." But he was, I mean, everybody in radio and clubs and stuff knew Fred, because he was a proper character. I got on like a house on fire with him, because he knew the game. Alan, hope you played Hilda Baker and Arthur Mullard. Behave, Alan. Cool, you're the one that I want. Hilda, mate. I mean, that was painful. I remember watching it I used to go on a Thursday. I used to go when I was doing my apprenticeship. I used to go to college, and then I would make sure we finished about 7, and Top of the Pops started at 7:30. I'd get across to the local pub, obviously when I was 18, get to the local pub, and like number one was Hilda Baker and Arthur Mullard, and it was like, oh, have I just wasted an hour of my life just to stay back late to watch that? Mullard was a wrong one. So I heard, Andrew, later on in my life. Des Ashton. I remember sitting outside Gateshead Stadium with Susie in the car, with the windows down, listening to Dire Straits. Ooh. Yeah, I mean, you could drive about the area in Gateshead. I've actually run at Gateshead Stadium a couple of times. And you could hear Tina Turner. I once saw the Police, supported by U2 at Gateshead Stadium. But Dire Straits, oh, but that was brilliant. In the field, as much as I dug Oasis at the time, I've absolutely zero interest in their reunion now. Am I the only one? Well, here's an angle for you. Anybody, I'm sure there are people watching the channel this evening. Some are very pro Oasis. Some are literally don't care and not interested. But I'm going to take you back a little, and it's this. Can you remember Blur versus Oasis? Can you remember when they were vying for number one, and it was all set up, and it was North versus South, it was Blur versus Oasis, it was Blur, they were metrosexuals, they were a bit more urbane, and the Gallagher brothers were from Manchester, so they were a bit rough and ready, and Blur beat them to number one. Blur. I'm not going to say what possibly may have gone on in the background. No, absolutely not. But can you imagine if they did Oasis versus Blur now? Blur who? Oasis are absolutely smashing it. So, in the Daily Mirror, 14 million people trying to get Oasis tickets. In the Sun, 7 million tried to get 1.2 million tickets. And it was carnage. It was blood up the walls. It was carnage. But Oasis are absolutely smashing it. And Blur, who? Now, you are aware that they're talking about more gigs coming for Oasis. So obviously they've released a particular dates. I'm sure they had 10 nights at Wembley set up. So what they don't want to happen is they don't want the 10 nights at Wembley to kind of like the first 3 get filled and then the other 7 are a bit half full. So what they'll do is they'll do so many and then they'll say, due to massive demand, we're going to add a few more nights, say another 3 or 4 nights. Those 3 or 4 nights will sell out categorically. If there's 14 million people trying to get 1.2 million tickets, categorically, all the gigs are going to sell out everywhere, whether it's Manchester or Dublin or London or Glastonbury. That's the biggie. Can you imagine what's going to happen when people try to get Glasgow tickets? It's just, you think the past couple of days are carnage. Whoa. So I think Blur can't hold a candle to Oasis, even though back in the day, I can't even remember the songs that they released. Blur beat them to #1. I fully expected Oasis to do it, but Jackie Glasgow, did you get a ticket, Stu? My sister was in the Ticketmaster queue from 8 yesterday morning till after 11 o'clock. Was that in the evening or in the morning? I mean, I know I've read today some people were holding on for like 12 hours. Some people were like 400 and odd thousandth in the queue. I mean, but all of this makes for great publicity. It makes for fabulous publicity. But for those that are kind of not really bothered about it, I will say back in the day, Blur and Oasis was a big thing, but Oasis are so massive now. This is because they've not done anything for 15 years. Do you know that they're going to release more live dates and an album? They've got an album waiting to go. So it's just going to be 2024. It's going to be Oasis's year by a long stretch. So anybody in the comments, let me know if you got any tickets. Leeds says Blur won the battle, but Oasis won the war. Very clever, Leeds. Very clever. Stuart in the morning, #8. Thank you, Stuart. Andrew James. Kinks had fights on stage. I know the brothers would just lamp and clump each other on stage. Didn't care. I mean, depends what they were on. Alan, girls that like boys that like girls that like boys. That was Blur, wasn't it? Definitely, maybe. In the field, Country House beat Oasis. Oh yeah. I mean, it was all right. It was a fine song, but Oasis was a bit more anthemic and Beatle and Slade-like, because young Noel was inspired by not only the Beatles, but by Slade, bizarrely. And I met Noddy Holder. There's another one that I met. And you know when it's... I hate doing this because it sounds like... Look, I've had a very privileged life and I've met lots and lots and lots and lots of very famous people. But I kind of mention the ones that have an impact. And I was in Century 106 and Noddy was brought in to do some radio shows. And it's, you know, when you've only ever seen somebody on the telly and there they are in real life in front of you. So I'm doing the ranting madman on the radio and he's looking at me through the glass as if to say, what is going on there? I'm at lunchtime phoning. And we shook hands and the managing director says, this is Adrian, this is Noddy. Pleased to meet you. But it's for a little lad from Sunderland who had black and white tellies back in the early 70s, watching everything, including the moon landing. It's just magical. It is just magical. And I know that meeting someone who's creative and talented, like Barry White, I went to a place in Soho to meet him after A&M Records had said, oh, you're in town, do you want to come and want to meet Barry White? So I was like, right, okay. And I went into this room and all these, you know, NME, Melody Maker Sounds, all those people back in the late 80s, they were all these reporters were standing around the edge of this room. And Barry White was standing in the middle with Darlene. Now, Darlene obviously never ever did any housework because her fingernails were like 4 foot long. They were talons, they weren't fingernails. So I just thought, oh, this is shite. And so I just walked up to him and I said, Mr. White, my name's so-and-so, I work for a radio station in the Northeast. Thank you for your work, thank you for your songs, thank you for your music. Wonderful. Just wanted to say that while all these prats are standing around and pretending that they're too cool to come up and say hello. And he just went, thank you very much. Stays with me for the rest of my life. God, he was a big lad. He was a proper giant of a man. I mean, I'm only 3'4". Joke, but he felt like he was 7 foot tall and big. But Darlene, going up to her and going, oh, hello, my name's Adrian. How are you? With talents, I mean, she must have had skills. I don't know how she got past those nails, but she must have had skills. Lead says, I met Dave Hill in a pub in Essex 20 years ago. Nice guy. Invariably, the talented ones always are. I will give you this maxim. The idiots are the ones that are not really talented. They're desperate to be famous, but they're not really talented. But the real talent, some of the real talented people, like Ronald Isley from the Isley Brothers. I'm doing an interview, again, at EMI Records, and I'm sitting talking to a lady called Angela Wimbush, who was his then paramour. And I'm sitting doing an interview, talking to her, and I hear this door go behind me. And I literally turn round and I see Ronald Isley. Even the Beatles loved the Isley Brothers because they covered Twist and Shout. And I kind of looked at her and went, because I didn't know that they were together. I didn't even know that they were going to be together that day. And she could obviously see by my eyes that seeing Ronald Isley had sent me completely doolally. And she just said, look, that's my partner, Ron. Do you want to say hello? So I kind of just went, Mr. Isley, a real privilege to meet you. Didn't really say much. He said a few words. I then got back to the interview and I just said, right, apology, Angela. Can we go again with this particular question? Not a problem, Adrian. And she signed the album cover for me, with some very glowing words. So it's, in my experience, the talented ones are the ones that are unassuming, don't make a fuss, there's never a problem. It's the idiots that are either coked off their chuff or they're not really talented by any stretch of the imagination. Just saying. Kerry Hoskins, like a kid in a sweet shop. Yeah, you bet you're sweet, baby. Pauline Makepeace, Napoleon, yes it was. What? Hang on. Tower Block Tracy, my brother met George Michael in a... Stop that. I met Lamal from Kajagoogoo. Interviewed him. When did he interview him? Nice guy. Amalia Grassi, that conjures up such... Right, let's get on to something else. After all of that and some of the stories, I want to get to Notting Hill Carnival. So there's been 2 murders. There's been loads of police injuries, there's been loads of stabbings, there's been loads of criminal activity, and 2 people have been murdered. I'm going to ask you a straight question. 1 for yes, 2 for no. 1 for yes, 2 for no. Should Notting Hill Carnival be cancelled? 1 for yes, 2 for no. Should Notting Hill Carnival be cancelled? According to Kerry Hawkins, it should be banned. Wow. Lead says, thing is, we expect murders every year. It's absolutely disgusting. So many ones for yes, it should be cancelled. Wow. I mean, you've got Mayor Carnage saying, oh no, it's wonderful. Yeah, Notting Hill Carnival's wonderful. I mean, there have been so many different stories. Amalia Grassi makes a very good point. I'm not sure it should be properly policed. Pauline Makepeace, we can't start banning things like Kia. Another great point, Pauline. Thank you. So, okay, a lot of people are saying yes to it being cancelled. So I'll ask you another question. Hang on, Nicholas says, Adrian, you should company Newcastle and play Oochie Coochie original soul, funk, jazz, disco house Saturday afternoon gig. I can get you in. Ooh. Nicholas, might just take you up on that. I'm sure, is it Steve? I think one of the guys that's organising it. But yes, we'll look at that, Nicholas. Love to. In the field, luckily, it was mainly peaceful this year. Stop and search them. Andy Turner, thank you, Leeds. Andy Turner says, this is not new. It's been happening a long time. And Tocker69 says, Khan's never been, I bet. Well, he'd need like 100 bodyguards. So I'm not sure he's that well liked. So I'm going to ask you a second question. Should Notting Hill Carnival be left as it is? 1 for yes, 2 for no. Should Notting Hill Carnival be left as it is? 1 for yes, 2 for no. Should it be left as it is? 1 for yes, 2 for no. Wow. You're not mucking about tonight, are you? Everybody, to a man and a woman, is saying 2. The carnival in Chapeltown, Leeds is usually trouble-free. Interesting point, Leeds. But everybody is saying no to it being left as it is. Okay, I'm going to give you a third question. Thank you for all your votes. Thank you for all your opinions. Make them pay for their own police bill. So for Notting Hill Carnival, it's the Met, British Transport Police, and City of London Police, and maybe they get some foreign aid in, other police forces on double, triple time from anywhere else from Scotland around the rest of the country. So the third question I want to ask you is this. I've asked you if it should be cancelled. Everybody says yes. Should it be left as it is? No. But here's the kicker. Should it be turned into a ticketed event? 1 for yes, 2 for no. Should Notting Hill Carnival be turned into a ticketed event, like an Oasis gig or like Glastonbury? And you can only get in if you've got a ticket or you're kind of... wow, interesting. Couple of no's, but mostly I would say 90% yes. So I asked the question, should it be a ticketed event? And lots of people says yes. But Des Ashton makes a very good point. Who gets the dosh? Well, maybe it being a ticketed event can pay for some of the bobbies that every year. Because I know some police forces they have their rest days cancelled. Because it's a bank holiday weekend and there's never enough people to do all the stuff that needs doing. Interesting, Andrew James says, hold it in various parks and stadiums. Interesting. I think maybe we're getting to a point where the political will is going to get involved, but they're not really going to stop. Are they? Are they? Thank you for all your votes. Thank you for your insight and your help. Where are we? Don't forget to smash the likes while you're in. Let's get it over 100 if you could, please. If I could trouble you. I was going to tell you I'm going to get to Keir Starmer next. And yeah, we'll get to Keir Starmer in a moment. But I'm going to tell you about... I've told you this story before, and it's one of my favourites. So back in the day, back in the 70s, we used to have a company called Rediffusion, and they used to, almost like Virgin nowadays, they just pipe stuff into your house. And there was a box in the corner where you could turn a dial and you could watch a particular channel. So you would move from ITV to BBC and BBC Two, because that, in essence, was all you really had. There was no Channel 4 and Channel 5 or anything else. No satellite, it was just ITV, BBC 1 and 2. And there was so I think it was Des Ashton that said to me, did you not have the hair for telly? So me and my family, my mum and dad and my siblings, were all just sitting watching TV after dinner, and the announcer, the continuity announcer, would come on and go, "Oh, hello, you Rollins. Oh, yes. Well, this evening on ITV, we're going to have so-and-so and so-and-so and Coronation Street on the cobbles this evening. And then later we'll have Within These Walls with Googie Withers." I've had that before, a swift kick in the Googie Withers, and it does wither. And this continuity announcer, he'd been a regular. I've just thought of another story, and I'm really unsure. Oh, that's definitely lifting the veil. In fact, I'll tell you it. Hang on. If you've so I'll tell you this one, and then I'll tell you that one, and then we'll get to Keir Starmer. So, he was going a bit thin on top. I worked with him later in radio. Lovely, lovely, lovely man, and he was the inspiration for Roger Melly, the man on the telly in Viz. And so we're just watching the telly, and there is a Sky reporter that sort of 30 odd years later, I watched him on the telly, and it looked like he had shredded wheat on his head. And like the day before, he had nothing there, and it was. This is the Sky reporter, and I looked at him, and it was like, "Holy Jesus, he's got shite on his head. It looks like bloody shredded wheat. What's that? Is it a comb over? Is it a weave? What is it? A wig?" So back in the 70s, when hair pieces were really unusual, they weren't great quality, but they were really unusual, and anybody in the public eye that wore one, people used to go, So this continuity announcer does continuity, and then the next, like half an hour later, he's doing, let's say happy birthday to a few kiddywinkles. He's got this chihuahua on his head. And the minute he came into vision, me and my family all burst out laughing. And I said, "My God, he's got a dog on his head." And they went, "No, he can't have." I said, look at that. And he's going, "Ew, and so-and-so is 5 years old. Happy birthday, darling, da-da-da-da-da-da-da." And I said, "It's a bloody chihuahua. I swear, that man's got a chihuahua on his head." And all of my family, we literally, it got to about midnight, and it was in the days where they used to play the national anthem. We couldn't stop watching. We literally didn't care about the programs that they were putting on ITV. We just wanted to see this man with a chihuahua on his head. And it literally was like that. It was sticking up all over the place. But as I say, nice guy. Oh, can you imagine? Love Island. Oh my God, he's got a chihuahua on his head. But there was also, can you remember, there was a film called Porky's. And in Porky's, there was a character called Lassie. And there was a reason why she was called Lassie, was because she used to howl like a dog in certain circumstances, if you catch me drift. It's a family show, so I'm being gentle. So Lassie in Porky's, and it was, I can't remember the actress's name, but it was one of the Sex and the City women. Mad Mac, yeah, Porky's, the brothel. I can't watch that because it just makes me roar with laughter. I mean, I'm sure it's just a lad's film and it's not for the girls, but Kerry Hawkins, that film, I know. Kim Cattrall, that's it. Thank you. Team VD. Kim Cattrall. So she played Lassie in Porky's. And basically in the film, she was taken upstairs to where all the young athletes used to put their dirty washing, and she got turned on by the smell of this dirty washing, and she used to howl the place down. Howl. Watch Porky's. If ever you need some, if you're feeling you've had a bit of a tough day, I'm not, you can say that, but I'm not confirming that, N. Watch it, because the brothel scene and the Lassie scene is just hilarious. But anyway, so I start working in commercial radio, and someone, Alan, why did they call her Lassie? Because she howled like a dog, Alan. I mean, do I have to be any more blunt? Kerry Hawkins, she's English. Isn't she from Liverpool or something? And she a Scouser? I love Kim Cattrall. She is so funny. Agreed, Pauline. Team VD, has anyone seen? Brilliant. So anyway, so I'm working in commercial radio, and I can't give you any more detail than this, but I am lifting a veil for you. So there's a guy in commercial production and sales, and this particular person came in to do some voiceovers, and the sales guy took her out, got a bit drunk, went back to his. The next morning, now this is a very, very, very well-known telly person, and I'm not going to give you the name, I can't. But he came back in the morning after, I mean, literally matchsticks in his eyes. And I was like, Jesus, what's happened to you? He said, oh, so-and-so, so-and-so happened to me. And I said, what happened? He said, you know that scene in Porky's where Kim Cattrall played Lassie? I said, yeah. He said, that all night. She only left 5 minutes before I came into work. He said, I'm shattered. So, you're just encouraging me to be naughty. I can't give you any more detail than that, but yeah, utter wrong. I want you to keep an eye out for something. One, it's called Slow Horses. I don't know whether you've seen any of the first three. Hang on. They do a good job of setting my turn, but I'm not so sure after half a pack. Not quite sure what that is, Amalia. What did he present then on TV? Pee Wee Herman. Yeah, Paul. Didn't he get done for kiddie stuff? Pee Wee. Kerry Hawkins, all night. Well, that's what he said to me. Well, whether that's the truth or not is a different matter. But from what I gather, she... Ow! That's all I'm going to say. Howling with laughter. Howling with... It's the truth. It's the truth. The Bad Wolf Project. See, there I was again. Light Then Dark is the Church of the Wrong and haunted by Derek Acora. Do you know, we mentioned him on Wednesday. Might be. But don't they say that if that happens, it's you're going to hear a death, which I hopefully not. Pebble Mill won, Nicholas. No, she didn't present Pebble Mill at 1. Pauline Makepeace, you've set my dog off. Oh, Pauline, I'm so sorry. It is funny, though. Just watch Porky's. You do have some stuff going on behind you, Kerry Hawkins. Do I? I mean, is it? I don't know whether I can... I'm going to have to watch this afterwards because I'm not sure whether you're winding me up or not. So I want to get into Keir Starmer. Shall we get into Keir Starmer? Shall we? So, for 18 months or so, I've been saying to you, so Keir Starmer, is he scaring you yet? And now you can watch your TV every single day and get what I was saying to you. Because it was fairly easy to see from a mile away. Oh. The yucca moved. Anyway, so Sir Keir Starmer, I was saying to you, is he scaring you yet? And I'm sure people were just laughing, going, oh, it's Adrian being Adrian. But knowing the way that I know the Labour Party, having been a card-carrying member of it, having our family, because I think if you wanted to be nominated by the local Labour Party, you had to have like 5 signatures. And there was 5 card-carrying members of the Labour Party in my family. Mum, Dad, us 3. And we signed the papers for a very well-known female MP, and she went on to have a career in the House of Commons. But I'll tell you another story. I once played golf in the East Midlands, and it was kind of like a pro-am day. Now, Stuart Pearce is a hell of a boy. He's a fantastic footballer, an amazing defender, and a pretty decent manager, to be fair. But he's got shark's eyes. I would guarantee that if I was on a football pitch and he was about to tackle me, I'd be like, "Yes, Stuart, you have the ball. Yes, Stuart, take the ball. No, it's fine. You take the ball. I'm fine." Because his eyes are they're shark's eyes. And have a guess who I believe who is dead behind the eyes. Sir Keir Starmer. Maybe that's why he's wearing the glasses at $2,000 a pop. So he's getting people to donate so they can get access to number 10. And I mean, the optics don't look great. You've got a prime minister who's taken 20 grand for clothes and 2 grand for glasses, and he thinks that's okay. That smells of corruption, in my view. It's just my view, but it smells of corruption. So I look at Sir Keir Starmer now, and I just laugh at him. That's what we need to do. Instead of being worried about what he's doing and what he's not doing, because he's not going to be Prime Minister for much longer. He's dead behind the eyes. Looks evil to me. But it's just my view. Evil. Now, 2 weeks ago, his poll approval rating was -7. I mean, the only people who would be down there with him would be Prince Andrew, Prince Harry, and Meghan the actress. Because they're like -25 or something. I think Ponce Andrew, he could be even lower. But 2 weeks ago, it was -7, his poll approval rating, -7. And then he tells everybody, oh, things can only get worse. His poll approval rating is now -13 today. I'm telling you, the Labour Party are now looking at not winning the next general election. They're not. So it doesn't matter what the Tory Party did, or think they're going to do. The Tory Party, finished. Done, over, never to be. This parrot is dead. Unless they join forces with Farage and Reform. And Labour, we now see their true colours because they got a huge majority. They knew they were measuring the curtains of number 10 months ago, thinking, when we get into power. They've gotten into power, and the power has corrupted them. All of them, unless you're Ginger Growler, and she's in Ibiza with Denise Van Outen. Next time you see Denise Van Outen, do me a favour, ask her how long she was in the relationship with Gary Glitter for when she was 14. Just saying. Don't put that in the press. So, I'm going to ask you the question. 1 for yes, 2 for no. Is Sir Keir Starmer, let's all laugh at Keir Starmer, is he the most hated man in Britain? Is Sir Keir Starmer, now with a poll approval rating of -13 today, is he the most hated man in Britain? 1 for yes, 2 for no. Because I'll make this prediction. They're only going to get 1 term. So whomever the puppet masters are, they are making Starmer go in hard because he's just collateral damage. They don't care. He's just going to be collateral damage. Cannon fodder. Political cannon fodder. Let's all laugh at Sir Keir Starmer, shall we? And Amalia Grassi, as far as I'm concerned, 1, is he more hated than Matt Hancock? Ooh, good shout, Stuart. I think, well, look, he's only had 6 weeks in. Everybody's saying yes. After 6 weeks. But Matt Hancock was a bit odious, to say the least. So now he's obviously sitting there. Can you imagine the Cobra meeting? Right, chaps, chapesses, I'm the president of the United Kingdom, and what I say go. So how can we piss everyone off? Dunno, President Starmer, Comrade Starmer, not sure. I tell you what, we'll stop the beggars smoking in the pub. No, not in the pub, they can't do that. In the pub garden. We'll stop them smoking in the pub garden. And I'm sure everybody in those meetings would be looking at him going, are you for real? Are you off your head, mate? Because the people are going to turn on you. There's already a campaign to get him removed. And I looked at the campaign. I signed it a few weeks ago. I looked at the campaign today. 261,000 votes. It's going up by about 2,000 a day. Not sure it's being shared enough, or maybe it is, or maybe it's being suppressed. N says, does he know what a woman is? Ask his wife. Jackie Glasgow, at least the NZS pretended things were getting better when they first got in Germany. Oh, yes. Yes. Alan to be replaced by what? Ginger Growler. I mean, she's had a great time in Ibiza with Denise Van Outen. That was a bit convenient, wasn't it? Now, I'm absolutely sure, 100%, that picture or film of Angela Rayner dancing in Ibiza in a pretty smart club, according to The Sun today, where loads of gear's on sale, that wouldn't have been released without her permission. So I'm telling you now, and I told you this before the general election, Angela Rayner is going to be the next Prime Minister, not Sir Keir Starmer. He's fighting for his political life. You've got all these polls in the background going, oh, Jesus, he's now minus 13. I mean, how bad can it get? And this is how bad it will get. It means that Labour will not get a second term as the ruling party. And they want it. They want 10 years. Sir Keir Starmer saying, the Bad Wolf Project, it was posted by Denise Van Outen, who has removed that clip from their Instagram account. No shit, Sherlock. Like I say, if that's going to cause problems within the Labour Party, I'm surprised they've allowed that out in a Ibiza club. They're back this week. And the other thing to watch out for is Sir Keir Starmer, PMQs, Wednesday, against Rich Boy Sunak. Now, you know that Rich Boy has got so much stuff to go at from the last 7 weeks. He absolutely, categorically should be able to... I've just seen something. Yeah, there's something going on in here. I've just seen a black shadow move. Anyway, Rich Boy Sunak, he has so much stuff to politically batter Sir Keir Starmer with. The whole of the Commons is going to be laughing at Keir Starmer because he's making a right mess of things. So remember, PMQ's Wednesday. Sir Keir Starmer, not interested in him. He's evil. He's dead behind the eyes. So let's start laughing at him. It's the only way to deal with horror and terror. Laugh at them. Angela Rayner, she's going to be the next PM. That's why there's all this stuff going on with Van Outen's video. Des Ashton says, there is no difference between any of the political parties. Whoever we vote for, with the illusion of choice, the government always gets in. I agree with you, Des. I agree. There isn't anything to do that we can do. But on this channel, for those free thinkers that watch this channel a lot, I was telling them, I couldn't tell anyone how to vote because I did say people should vote with their conscience and their heart. And the people that have voted Labour in this time, I mean, can you imagine the questions they're asking themselves? That's why Labour won't get in for a second term. The Tories are done. They're never coming back. So who does that leave? The Lib Dems or Reform? Reform will form the next government, I promise you. Terry Wookford says, you are assuming Labour get to serve their full term. You might want to cast your mind back to 78, 79, James Callaghan. Remember him? He gave us the winter of discontent. I do, Terry. I do, vividly. I remember the power cuts. I remember all the shenanigans that went on. And Starmer is taking us into that territory. But I can't remember. I mean, I was still a young guy, so I can't remember. I was barely 16. I can't remember how they got rid of him or why they got. Maybe I'll do me research. If anybody knows how they got rid of James Callaghan in 78, 79 for the Tories to come in and Margaret Thatcher, where there is discord on the streets of 10 Downing Street, then tell me, because so a bit like David Cameron and Brexit. So vote no confidence. People voted for breakfast when they weren't supposed to. Sod the bloody electorate. And they called an election and look what happened. So maybe, but the political classes, they're absolutely bricking it. Because, again, in one of the newspapers today, they're at Farage saying he's got 4 houses. Who cares? Who cares? Rich boy Sunak, how many hundreds of millions did he make while he was Prime Minister? There's a question for everybody. The political classes are bricking it because they're going to end up with no power. Zero power. It's done. The political system's done. And the only thing we've got left is allowing somebody without the political classes holding them to account. And it's reform. Because why not? The Lib Dems, Ed Davey, the post office has done for him. I mean, how did they get all those seats when Reform got 4 million? For me, I'm not taking a particular party. What I am doing, and this is metaphorical, not literal, blow the whole bloody system up. There shouldn't be political parties. There should be one man or woman that the locals decide is going to be their voice in the House of Commons. And the person that they choose should be working on behalf of the electorate from that particular area. So say, I stood in Sunderland. I will be standing as an independent. Everybody should be independent. That's how the political classes control you. Because it's all party run. They're all making shed loads of money. I mean, if you look at Kamala Harris in America, so she's raised $500 million for her presidential campaign. How much is she going to trouser? Nancy Pelosi. Look at how many tens of millions she's made on $185,000 a year. So Keir Starmer, let's laugh at him. We are. I mean, if you look at all of the memes and all the videos, all the AI videos, the Tin Man, if I only had a brain, from Wizard of Oz, and some of the other stuff. I mean, it's just wonderful. Wonderful. Because the people have had enough. He's only been in 7 weeks. So I believe that we should get rid of the current political system. Not, no, Adrian, we'll have proportional representation. No, stuff it. We'll have independence. Nobody is allowed to be part of, unless they are sort of the electorate. No one is allowed to be part of a political party because power corrupts. Absolute power corrupts absolutely. So let's do away with this whole system. It's broken now. It's done. It's finished. It's over. Let's have 650 independents in the House of Commons. That'll put the cat amongst the pigeons. And that's what we need to do. Let's all laugh at Sir Keir Starmer. I don't think anybody thought it was going to be this bad. I don't think anybody thought that he was going to make an absolute mess up of the whole thing. So I'm going to, we'll leave that there. I've kind of given you my thoughts on that. But another couple of minutes, I want to talk about something that is kind of my final story of the evening. And it's my personal experience. Knock, knock. Diana. Diana who? Oh, that's the fickle British public for you and the mainstream media and the political classes. 27 years to the day yesterday. Did you see anything in the mainstream media? Did he say anything? 27 years since she died. Princess Diana. 27 years. Nothing in the press. She's a footnote in history now. So I'm going to ask you a question. What do you believe happened? 1 for murder, 2 for a horrible accident. I want you to tell me what you believe happened in Paris 27 years ago last night. 1 for murder, 2 for a horrible accident. Unfortunate. Terrible. Richard Parsons says 2, lots of 1s. Vix text, Diana, brokenhearted. Tom Harney's 2, Andrew James 1. Seen a post on Facebook, nothing otherwise. I know, none of the mainstream media, the telly, the press, nothing. Absolutely nothing. But I will tell you this, and I was working within the Harrods organisation. If you've heard this story before, I apologise. But I will ask the question again if anybody wants to vote. The voting is still open. Kerry Hawkins, I was told by a serving member of the SES it was a planned accident. It's called the Boston Brakes technique. Google it. So I believe it was murder. It's just my personal opinion. I believe it was murder. And why do I believe it was murder? Because there was a lot of stuff going on between Fayed and the royal family. You know, the warrants on Harrods, on the side of Harrods. Now, I was working on the 6th floor on Brompton Road, looking at Harrods. Apologies, 7th floor. And I remember doing a program. So we went into full obit procedure in radio. Now, in radio, if there is certain members of the royal family, Queen, Edinburgh, Charles, Diana, the boys, if any of the purple numbers, Princess Anne to a certain extent, the Queen Mother, definitely, because their code name is all purple and a number. That's been published in countless places in the mainstream media and books. But I was sitting there when the news came out. We all ran in the centre of town. There were books of condolences at Kensington Palace, and there was books of condolence at Harrods, and every day in and going into work and out of work on the Brompton Road, you would see, the queues were miles long. People writing in the books of condolences. They didn't have enough. And I sat there that the night it happened, so it happened on the Saturday night. I was broadcasting on the Sunday, and Mr. Fayed thought that he was the target, not Dodi and not Diana. He believed he was the target, because where Mr. Fayed, from what I was led to believe from various sources, Mr. Fayed was an accountant for one of the big Saudi families. And he had the permission to use the wealth of the Saudi family. There are lots of wealth managers nowadays, but back then he was a wealth manager of one of the big Saudi families, and he used to trade, buy and sell, buy and sell, buy and sell. But at that level, you're buying and selling arms and armaments and massive ships and stuff in the multi billions, and that's how he made his money, by doing that. He was actually there was an assassination attempt. I can't remember, maybe it was Ethiopia, maybe it was one of the African nations, but he was sitting next to the kind of president of that country because he was doing deals on behalf of this particular family that he was managing their wealth of. And it's somewhere online. You can see the army driving in front of this, like a football stand, and then all of the army just jumping out and opening the guns and killing lots of people, including an assassination attempt on the president. And Fayed was sitting next to him and thought that they were also after him then. So when Dodi and Diana died in the car, he thought it was him that was actually the target and not Diana and Dodie. And I was sitting in the broadcast studio, which I'm facing towards you, and to my right saw the roof of Harrods. And there were men walking around with submachine guns on the top of Harrods. And I rang the managing director and said, here, Oggy, there's blokes here walking about with submachine guns. I thought it was illegal to have guns on the streets of this country. And he said, you've seen nothing. There were very, very trying times, weird times, and Sterry Wookfit says, from a shy, innocent princess to be a woman who's seen more cock ends than weekends, certainly let herself go. So they were in Paris. And I know that the car that they were in was bomb-proof. I know that it was reinforced because money was no object. Mohammed Al-Fayed was a multi-billionaire. Money was no object. That's why he hired former special forces, close protection for himself, Dodie, Diana. And I know that Mr. Fayed, when he came into work into Harrods, he never used the same route any 2 consecutive days. Never. I mean, I know it's standard military procedure, but he never, ever, ever used the same route into work and out of work. So say Mr. Fayed had come across to us and wanted a meeting with us. I've told you this before. He would come up the lift. So the close protection unit would go to the lift, make sure the lift was cleared, hold it. Mr. Fayed would go in with his close protection and maybe 2 Harrods protection officers, security officers. They would go up, and the Harrods security officers would come out of the lift into, because our office, our studio complex was long. So they would come into, come in through double doors, go opposite the double doors and stand. That's the Harrods security. And then the close protection, who were always armed, and there was always 4. They came in, and 2 of them went to each corner, and the 2 behind him came in and followed him in. So the room was contained, and the room that he was going into, he had 2 close protection officers with him when we had a meeting with him, whether it was budgets or whatever. Because Mr. Fayed bought, thank you, Stuart. Thank you, Stuart, really appreciate it. And Mr. Fayed would come in, have the meeting, and then it would be exactly the same in reverse. The Harrods security officers would leave with his close protection 4 surrounding Mr. Fayed, getting him into the lift, and then there was a rabbit warren of tunnels under the Brompton Road. You could get to Harrods via the tunnels under the road. No, you didn't have to walk out and go across the crossing and then back into Harrods. There were private tunnels under the Brompton Road, which I'm sure are still there, but he never used the same route twice or in 2 consecutive days as a security protection. So it seems that everybody believes that it was murder. Some say it was a tragic accident, but when it happened and I saw the people walking around, I mean, they were patrolling on the top of Harrods. And maybe you've not heard me say this to you before, but on the Saturday evening, you can get the Sunday newspapers on a Saturday night in London, or you used to be able to. And Charing Cross train station, they kind of just disseminated via the rail network from Saturday night. So around about 9 o'clock, you can buy the Sunday newspapers on a Saturday night. And we would always get the first editions. And the first edition of most of the, like the News of the World, the Daily Mirror, all the usual, the People, all the usual Sunday newspapers, the main story was about the royal family taking their royal crests away from Harrods. because there was just this fight going on in the background between the royal family and Mohammed Al Fayed. And remember, Diana wanted a Muslim baby. She was playing high stakes. She wanted a Muslim baby as a half brother or sister to William and Harry. Hasnat Khan, she wanted a relationship with him. He decided to back away for whatever reason. Dodi had the money, the power, the prestige. Mohammed Al Fayed, it was always something that he wanted Dodi to do. And if you believe the Crown, which I believe in some areas is quite accurate. But when the car, I still, to this day, can't believe that a car that is that bomb-proof hitting a concrete stanchion in a tunnel. And there's so many questions. And one of the main questions is the white Fiat in the tunnel. Because they reckon that Henri Paul, he wasn't drunk at the wheel, in my view. Because the testing you have to do to get an accurate reading, you've got to go in through the eyeball. And they didn't. So the official report says that he was drunk at the wheel. No, you absolutely, categorically, at that level, you don't drink while you're on duty. Kes Wingfield and the other close protection officer wouldn't have allowed Dodi and Diana to be driven by a man that had any alcohol. I'm sure of that. Trevor Rees-Jones and Kes Wingfield were the two protection officers with Dodi and Diana that night. And in the tunnel, they reckon that there was a bright flash that blinded Henri Paul. And they've never found that white Fiat, but there's markings on, and you know they've never released the vehicle. The owners have tried and requested to be given the vehicle back because it was a hire car. No, never happened. Not from my sources, Terry. Terry Wuckford saying the white Fiat was traced and then excused. My sources say that it was driven across to this country and scrapped. So whether it was traced in the scrapyard and then excused, but I mean, we can debate Diana's sad demise for nights and nights and nights on lives, but judging by how you've reacted this evening, 1 for murder, 2 for a horrible accident, tragic accident. But I just wanted to mention it and give you some insight and my personal experience from being in history, in a moment in history, back in 97. I will also say that what could never come across is so the funeral was on the Saturday and I was living in Hampton, not too far from Hampton Court at the time. So me and the girl that I was living with, we just jumped on a tube and went down to Kensington Palace, and it was heaving with people. Heaving with people. Just wandering around, some crying, some not, some a bit still shell-shocked. But the one thing that you could never come across on TV was the smell of the flowers that were outside of Kensington Palace. There was a sweet aroma on the air outside of Kensington Palace, and there was just fields and fields and fields of flowers. I mean, those florists must have made a fortune. And did they give any to charity? No, don't be silly. And I will also say this. We had to be very mindful of Mr. Fayed and his loss, and we were very respectful that week leading up to Diana's funeral, because the Muslim tradition was Dodi had to be buried within 24 hours. They got him back over and they buried him on Mr. Fayed's estate. But if we'd not had the funeral on the Saturday, I don't know whether you can remember any of this, but I believe the country was on a knife edge. I believe the country was broken. And we could feel it within it. The radio station was Liberty 963, an AM radio station in London. And I believe that people were, look, I was doing a program on the Friday night, and it was titled Songs for a Princess. So people were calling in, and they would say, oh, I'd like this song playing or this song playing, and do you have any memories of Diana? Yes, I met her, and this and that and the other. But I had people calling me at the radio station, wailing down the phone, wailing and wailing, and some of the sounds that came down the telephone from just the man and woman on the street like me and you, some of it was unearthly. And if we hadn't had that funeral on the Saturday, I don't know how the country would have survived that. Because then the Queen didn't come down from Balmoral to Buckingham Palace until, was it the Wednesday? It was only a day or two before the funeral, and the country was apoplectic with rage at the Queen at that time. But I just remember, I mean, I still, and the hairs on the back of my neck are standing up, still to this day, I can remember the people wailing down the phone at me. I didn't know how we were going to get through the funeral, and watching it on TV, there wasn't a single motor vehicle on the roads anywhere in London. The whole country paid their respect. And as I say, people wailing down the phone, and the sweet scent of flowers on the wind outside Kensington Palace is something that will stay with me for the whole of my life. My name's Adrian Allen. Thank you for your likes, your subscriptions. Please make sure that you're subscribed. Again, we've had so much to talk about that we haven't been able to get to. We'll try again tomorrow. Thank you for your subscriptions and your likes. But most of all, thank you for your indulgence. I hope you've enjoyed the stories tonight that I've been able to tell you. And the next live is Wednesday, 8 p.m. Please follow me on X. I'm trying to get to 500 followers. We're not far away now. And good night to everyone that's been in the chat. Thank you for all your votes, for all your chat, and for all your comments. God bless you all. And be well, be safe. And I'll see you Wednesday, 8 o'clock for the next live. Au revoir, said a French person once.